welcome back to another CHARLTON episode. We do have a lot of talking points this week. It's been about 9 days since we last recorded an episode, but just before we start, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has liked the videos and subscribed over the last few weeks, because we did hit 600 subscribers this week, which is a really nice figure to hit. Really nice stuff, really nice growth. And yeah, basically just thank you for that. Also, make sure if you are enjoying this series, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you leave a like and also subscribe, because it really does help me out. Also, you can click the little bell button next to the subscribe button, which also helps me out. It just means that every time that I upload a video, you get a notification on your YouTube channel to say that the video has been uploaded, but that really helps me out as well. So anyway, moving on to the news this week. We do have the players back in for training. So there was a Bleep test, or a Bleep test, I'm not sure, this week, where basically, to cut a long story short and to explain it quite quickly, it's basically a sort of voiceovers played and the players sort of run and get beeped out, and it sort of ranks the squad from first to last in terms of how they're doing for fitness. Now, there's no surprise to say that Tony Watt finished last, so he did come within the sort of threshold of the weight and the figures that KARL Robinson set, and he said if you don't hit this target, then you're going to get a fine to all the players before they went off for their holidays before pre-season. So it's really nice that every single player, he said, came back and was in and hit those targets. So it was really nice to come back and see a fit squad. But also in another interview, he said you can't get too carried away with pre-season because it's a season that matters, but it's a nice foundation to build on. It's really nice to see all the players doing well. Aaron Barnes did actually come first in the Bleep test. It was very nice to see a young player hit it. I mean, it's always likely that the young players are going to win the sort of fitness stuff, but I wonder whether, we're going to talk about this a little bit in the video today, whether Aaron Barnes will be like the backup right back for when Solly's injured, whether he's going to be the right back as opposed to us making a new signing. You know, we do bring youth through quite a lot. Solly is youth himself, so maybe that is going to happen, and we won't sign Hodgson like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, but interesting to consider. Also, Ceballos and Naby Sarr were seen back in the building. The only player that didn't return was VETOKELE, who has now been confirmed to have gone on loan to SINT TRUIDEN for another season. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the transfers. But yeah, Ceballos and Sarr are back. I doubt they're going to be staying around for very long. They're probably on the highest wages in the squad, I would imagine, and they sort of represent, they're everything that is like symbolic of Katria Myra Mare's, still don't know how to say her bloody name, mistakes that she made along with Roland. So, I mean, they're back. I mean, Ceballos might be considered because we do need a winger. I doubt Sarr will be. I think it's best to just get rid of him, but he's on that big contract, isn't he? So it's difficult to know what's going to happen there. But then KARL Robinson also had an interview this week, or he had 2 interviews actually. The first interviews that they've had for 4 weeks, and he had a lot to talk about. It was a very upbeat, positive interview, as KARL Robinson interviews do tend to be when he thinks things are going well. He was very upbeat and saying some encouraging stuff about the player weights, about how many staff are in the building, and all the diggers that are doing the pitches up nice, and it seems like a very positive vibe in the training camp at the moment. Easy to say, and you can't get too carried away with pre-season vibes, but I mean, it's just nice to hear, and it shows that we're going the right way, and we're starting the new season in the right way. Now, another thing that happened in this interview was that KARL Robinson explicitly spoke, and this is one of the good things about Robinson, that he always is very transparent and sort of straight talking in his interviews. He spoke about the players that he wants in each position, so on the entire pitch, and how many players he thinks we should be signing in which position, and how many players we should be going into the new season in each position. So this is really nice to see. So let's have a listen.
We've sort of loaded on certain areas, and what I want is 2 number 2s, 2 3s, 4 to 5 centre backs, 2 midfield players as 6, 2 8s, 2 10s, 2 7s, 2 11s, 3 9s, and I think that has got to be a recruitment model that if I'm using Chris Solly as an example. Chris Solly gets injured, do the right back, he comes in and we win the game. You lose a Ricky and you can bring in whoever. You lose a Billy Clark and you can bring in another number 10. You can lose your left back and have another one ready. One centre back gets suspended, the next one's just as good. And we've got to have that to be competitive.
So if we try and work this out, he said 2 number 2, so that'll be Solly and someone else. Could be Barnes, could be Hodgson, could be another right back, we don't know yet. He said 2 left backs, number 3s, that'll be Page, who's injured, and then we expect De Silva to sign on loan if we can get him, or another left back that we need to get in, which KARL Robinson also said in the interview. Then he said 4 or 5 centre backs, so that'll be Bauer, Konsa, Texera, Pearce and Lennon at the moment, who we've got in the club. Maybe one of those will go, maybe Texera. And then he also said in this interview, if a player goes from a position, if we're too short, we want to be ready to bring another player in. So you would imagine that he has those targets ready there. And a little bit more interesting as we get onto the midfielders and onto the strikers. So he said 2 number 6s. Now, a number 6 is generally like more of a defensive midfielder, and a number 8 is more of an attacking midfielder, you would sort of say in very sort of broad football terms. So number 6 is, I would probably imagine that he's talking about Karshi and Crofts that we've already got sorted there. Number 8 is more like, I don't know, like Forster Kasky and a Rebo probably, so we're possibly sorted there as well. Then he went on to talk about number 10s, and he said actually that we already have one number 10 and we need another one. He said we need 2 number 10s at the beginning of the season. He said Billy Clark and someone else, which surprised me because I felt like Tony Watt was really a number 10. He spoke about Billy Clark. He said, oh, some people thought he was a striker, and I wouldn't be too happy with his goal record if he was a striker. But then you look at Tony Watt's record, and it is a lot worse than Billy Clark's for scoring. So I mean, is Tony Watt considered a number 9 or number 10? I'm not sure. Make sure you leave a comment down below and let me know what you think he considers himself as in those terms. Or maybe he's a little bit less broad and he's still trying to find his position. It might also be that Robinson considers Watt to be one of the number 9s he was talking about. He said he needs 3 number 9s. And just like the goal record thing is just because he's young, you know, maybe he's settling down and Robinson can see that. He did say he's never had a problem with Tony Watt before, but I mean, it's interesting. I really am interested to see where he's going to be deployed this season. And anyway, then he moved on to talk about the wingers, 2 number 11s, 2 number 7s. So we've got, if we just count the wingers as sort of 4 players, we've got Holmes, we've got Marshall, we do have Ceballos in the club who may or may not stay. And we also do have the youngster Tariq Fosu in there. So we've got 4 at the moment. You'd imagine we have 3 because you'd imagine, like I said, Ceballos will leave. So we might make 1 more winger signing and then we'll be sorted in that department. And then for the number 9s, he did talk about having 3 to start the season. So McGuinness, you can imagine he'd stay. A Jose we do have. Then what, like I was saying, where actually does he belong? And also Novak we have in the club and VETOKELE's gone. So we sort of have like 4. So maybe one of those will go. I would hope, like I said before, that it's Novak. But it could well be one of the others, or maybe Tony Watt isn't even considered a number 9. I don't know. This is all very unclear to me at the moment, our striker situation. But make sure you leave a comment down below what you think the striker situation is all about and where you think those players are going to end up, who you think is going to stay and all that jazz. But basically, if we move on to the more transfery stuff now, Cameron Stewart is a player that we have taken on trial. Now, he did play for Charlton before in the 13-14 season. Dog's just moved. Thank you, Luna. Now, Cameron Stewart, we have taken him on trial. He last played for Doncaster in the 15-16 season. When I first saw this, I thought it was the promotion campaign that he was involved with last season. But it was actually 15-16 season where they got relegated. So that was his last professional club. No football for a year. So KARL Robinson's having a look at him, you know, seeing if he's fit, seeing if he's still got it, seeing if he's still looking sharp in training. He did play for Charlton before. In the 13-14 season, he scored 3 goals in 18 games, which is a decent return. I seem to remember him being quite a good player, actually, for us. He did score this absolute screamer against Yeovil that I remember, and I think he scored a couple of really good goals, actually, for us. So, you know, interesting. That could be the 4th winger that we were talking about. But I was just reading about him, trying to work out, like, why he wasn't there for a season, why he hasn't played football for a season. And he apparently had a head injury, and he was discharged from hospital with whiplash, and then he had a season out. So maybe he was trying to get his head straight. I did hear from someone, I mean, this was just a whisper, that he had a drug problem, but that could be complete nonsense, so don't take my word for that. But he obviously had something that he had to take a year out and get his head straight. Hopefully he's in the right place now, and I hope he impresses in the trial, and I'd like to see him, as long as he's sort of like a backup player, or, you know, a player that plays sort of 20, 30 games a season, comes off the bench and whatnot. I'd like to see him at Charlton. He's 26, so that means he's at a good age. Hopefully he's got his head straight and he'll return in good form. And then obviously we did have VETOKELE this week leaving to St Truden on loan. Now, mixed feelings about this. I'm annoyed that it's a loan because we need to get rid of these players that don't really want to play for Charlton and that are on the sort of wage books. I saw this funny tweet actually about, it was like Roland writing a letter to himself, sort of saying, can we sign Igor VETOKELE from you? Because he obviously owns St Truden and he owns Charlton, so he's still taking money off our owner. He's in the network. It's not the best thing to see. I'd rather him be sold permanently, but then again, you have to consider that maybe if he goes on loan and plays really well for St Truden, we might get a better market value for him next season when he's sold, and, you know, maybe it could work out better that way. So we'll have to wait and see this season what happens with VETOKELE and if we can get some money for him next season. But at the moment, he is on loan to St Truden. So if we just go back a little bit to when KARL Robinson was talking about each position, we can probably now identify our targets for each position in the transfer market, the positions that we still need. Now, KARL Robinson was asked what we still need. He said a number 10, he said a winger, he said a left back and possibly a right back, and also a goalkeeper. So if we have a look at some of the players that we've been linked with, Ben Reeves, he would fill that number 10 vacancy lovely. Like, he would be really nice. A goal scoring, attacking midfielder, he would be a perfect signing. And like I said, that might be announced today, it might not. I hope it is. David Martin is the goalkeeper that I've heard that we might sign. Robinson said we might loan or we might buy. So, I mean, there must be a couple of targets. Don't be surprised if we do loan a keeper in for a season. But I'd rather get a keeper in permanently. We do have Phillips there as well, who's who's obviously our player. He'll probably be the number 2 this season. But yeah, the only one I've heard of is really David Martin at the moment. Don't know if that's going to happen, but hopefully we'll get a keeper in very soon. The left back, Jay Da Silva, I think that will be, as long as we can get him on loan. Apparently, someone said the only player that he's seen that's better than Jay Da Silva at that age is Ashley Cole. So if we can get him back, that'll be really good. Hodgson could be the right back if Aaron Barnes isn't the number 2 right back this season. Cameron Stewart, obviously on trial now, could be the winger he was talking about. And then Stefan Mavididi also. Robinson has already said that we would love to get him back on loan. So they're the players that have really been spoken about and that are kind of likely or expected to happen. But you know, Fosu was a surprise. So we could see someone completely different. We could see someone that hasn't been spoken about. So let's wait and see what happens on that front. And finally today, Ricky Holmes looks like he might be going to Sheffield United. I mean, I really hope he doesn't. And when I say he looks like he's going to Sheffield United, I've just seen tweets and rumblings and people on Twitter saying, oh, it looks like it's been done and all that kind of stuff. But there's not really any official source that has said that Ricky Holmes is going yet. So Sheffield United are obviously at the forefront of signing him. There was a little piece that Richard Cooley put out today where apparently he said that Ricky Holmes' people are in talk with Charlton's people to try and get something done. And when asked about some reports of a Sheffield paper that said that Ricky Holmes is looking to leave SE7, Robinson basically said, what, has Holmes spoke to the Sheffield press then? Because I haven't heard that. This is not what I understand. So it's good to see that Robinson's sort of still thinking that we can get that contract signed, and hopefully, really, really hopefully, that'll be one of our best signings of the summer to get that contract done. I do believe a fit Ricky Holmes would charge us towards promotion, but that is it for this particular episode. Make sure you leave a like. I'm just going to put my notes down. Bloody hell. Make sure you leave a like on the video. Make sure, like I said at the beginning, you subscribe if you've enjoyed, and make sure that you stay tuned for all that's happening around Charlton. Make sure you click another one before you go off the channel. Here it is. Click this little video. It's probably FIFA or football related. Sweet.